Before we dive in, let me ask you this. What if everything you've been told about history, destiny, and the fate of nations is about to be shattered? What if what's happening right now, the rising tensions, the conflict you see every day, isn't just happening by chance? What if it's been foretold in detail, thousands of years ago, right there in the ancient prophecies of the Bible? You've heard of Persia, you've heard of Iran. But what does the Bible really say about it? Are we living in the days Ezekiel spoke of? The truth is, the conflict between Iran and Israel, this age-old tension, is not just an accident of modern politics. It's written in the stars. And more importantly, it's written in the Bible. Iran, Persia, is more than just a nation. It's a pivotal player in God's divine plan, a plan that's unfolding right before our eyes. This isn't just history repeating itself. It's prophecy coming alive in real time. In this video, you'll discover how the rise of Iran is no accident, but a key piece in a massive, earth-shattering prophecy. You'll learn how the ancient kings, the battles of the past, and the words of the prophets in Ezekiel, Jeremiah, and Daniel have far-reaching implications for today. What's really happening behind the scenes? And why should you care? How does it affect your life and the future of the world? These are the questions we'll answer. But here's the thing. This is not just about Iran. This is about the grand narrative, the plan of God unfolding in the most dramatic ways possible. By the end of this video, you will not only understand why this conflict is happening, but why it's a wake-up call for all of us. You'll understand the incredible connection between the prophecies of the past and the shocking events we see today. And as we uncover these ancient truths, we'll unlock the secrets of what's coming next, and how it ties into God's eternal plan. Stay with me. The truth you're about to hear could change everything. And trust me, you do not want to miss this. The rise of Persia. How ancient prophecies unveil Iran's role in today's world. Have you ever wondered why nations rise and fall, and how some seem to be destined for greatness? The rise of Persia, now Iran, is not just an accident of modern politics. It is a direct fulfillment of ancient prophecies that have echoed through the ages. This is no coincidence. This is the unfolding of God's plan, written centuries ago. Let's take a deeper look at how ancient kings and the prophecies in the Bible, particularly from the book of Daniel and Ezekiel, have led to this very moment. The ancient Persian Empire, once the mighty force that shaped the world, left a legacy that stretches far beyond the history books. From the time of King Cyrus, who released the Israelites from captivity, to the modern political landscape of Iran, God's hand has been ever present. And here's the mind-blowing part. Iran's role in the world today is exactly what was prophesied thousands of years ago. In the Bible, Persia is often referenced as part of God's divine plan for the last days. Just as Daniel prophesied, Persia was depicted as a powerful force. A force that, while once a kingdom of liberation, has now evolved into a force of great significance in the global stage. Imagine for a moment that God's plan spans thousands of years. What if this is not just about a nation or a political conflict, but a cosmic struggle between good and evil? What if this is the beginning of something much bigger than we could ever imagine? The modern conflict between Iran and Israel isn't merely a political battle. It is a divine prophecy unfolding before our eyes. The tensions we witness today could very well be the final stage of God's prophecy, with Persia, now Iran, playing its role as predicted. And what does this mean for us? This isn't just a story about ancient history, it's about us right now. Every time you see a headline, every time you hear about rising tensions in the Middle East, remember, it's not just politics, it's prophecy. It's part of a much larger story, and you, as a part of this generation, are witnessing it. What does God say about the future of Iran? Now, let's focus on a critical prophecy from the book of Ezekiel. Ezekiel 38 paints a picture of the final days when Persia, now Iran, aligns itself with other powerful nations in a coalition against Israel. But what does this mean for us? How does this connection between Iran and Israel impact the course of history and the ultimate fulfillment of God's plan? Here's the thing. This isn't just a prediction about a nation's future. This is about the fate of nations and their roles in God's divine narrative. And just like in Ezekiel's vision, where God reveals that these nations will form an alliance, we see the very beginning of this alliance today. Iran's growing influence, especially with Russia and other Middle Eastern nations, is a striking reflection of what was written thousands of years ago. But it doesn't stop there. This isn't a story of doom and destruction. It's also one of divine intervention. In Ezekiel 38, God shows us the ultimate fate of these nations, but he also shows us the role of divine justice and protection. When nations rise against Israel, God himself will step in to defend his people in ways that will be unimaginable. This divine intervention will not just be a protection for Israel, but also a message to the world that God's plan will be completed, no matter the opposition. Can you feel the power of that truth? It's essential to understand this. Iran's role, though significant, is only one piece of the puzzle. God has a plan for the world that stretches far beyond any single conflict. The Bible speaks of a time when all nations will face the ultimate test. And though Persia plays a crucial part in this unfolding story, it's not the end. It's just the beginning of a much larger picture. A picture where God's sovereignty will be displayed, where nations will come face to face with his power, and where his ultimate victory will be revealed. This is what we are witnessing today. And this, my friends, is a call for us to stay alert, to be watchful, and to understand that the events we see unfolding are no accident. We are living in the very days the prophets spoke of. Are you ready for what's coming next? As we journey through these ancient prophecies, remember this: Iran, Persia, is not just a political entity. It is a key player in the fulfillment of God's eternal plan. And you, right now, are part of this story. Take a moment to reflect on that. How does it make you feel to know that the world's destiny is unfolding before us? Iran's path to restoration, a glimmer of hope. But wait, there's more. While Iran's role in the end times may seem dark and filled with conflict, the Bible offers hope. Yes, hope. In Jeremiah 49:39, we learn that after the judgment, God promises to restore the people of Elam, which is the region that includes modern-day Iran. This is an astonishing truth. Even after judgment, there is always restoration. There is always grace. Can you feel the healing power in that message? Even as nations face their reckoning, God's love and mercy extend beyond judgment. This is not just a message of doom and gloom. It is a message of restoration and hope. God has a plan for Iran, just as he has a plan for each of us. Iran's story is not over. Yes, the nation plays a pivotal role in the events to come, but there is still a hopeful future for its people. God's mercy knows no bounds, and the promise of restoration is not limited to Israel alone. As we watch these events unfold, let it serve as a reminder that no nation, no person, is beyond the reach of God's love. And as we reflect on the state of the world today, let us remember, God's plan is not finished. Even in times of hardship, there is restoration. Even in the darkest of moments, God's light shines through. If Iran can be restored, so can we, so can you, so can all of us. This is the power of God's plan. A plan of judgment, yes, but also a plan of hope and restoration. And as we journey forward, let's remember that no matter how dark the night, the morning is always coming. God is always at work. The blessing. After the judgment, Iran's divine restoration. After the storm, after the struggle, after the battle, comes restoration. Hope. This isn't just about the nations of the world. It's about you, me, and every person walking through life facing their own trials. It's about the unseen grace that follows even the darkest of judgments. In Jeremiah 49:39, God spoke of a time when after judgment he would restore the people of Elam, modern-day Iran. Imagine that, a divine promise of restoration, even for those who face the hardest trials. Iran, a nation deeply embroiled in conflict, is also part of God's grand design. But here's the shocking truth. Even in judgment, there's hope. This message isn't just for Iran, it's for all of us. No matter the mistakes, no matter the struggles, God has a plan for restoration. He has a plan for you. Just as Iran's future is held in God's hands, so is yours. Consider this for a moment. Think about the difficult moments in your own life, the times when everything seemed dark, when you thought you couldn't make it through, but then, somehow, there was a shift. A light broke through. You found strength you didn't know you had. This is the restoration we're talking about. God's love never fails. It's easy to forget that no one, no nation, no person is beyond his love. Even after the hardest trials, there is always the possibility of transformation, of redemption. This is what makes God's plan so powerful. We may face difficulties, but we are never forgotten. We are never left behind. And when we rise with the strength of God Himself. Can you feel that truth stirring in your soul? You are a part of that restoration. You are a part of this divine plan. No matter what life throws your way, remember, restoration is always possible. Iran's story is one of judgment, yes, but it's also a story of hope, and it's unfolding right now. The nation will face its challenges, but God's word stands firm. There is a future filled with restoration. Iran will not remain in darkness, neither will you. God's plan is to bring life to the broken. This is where the story gets even more powerful. What happens after the restoration? The warnings in the Bible, a message for the world. The Bible is filled with warnings, reminders of what happens when nations or people ignore God's call. But here's the kicker. God doesn't leave us hanging. He doesn't warn us just to punish us. He warns us because He loves us. The prophecies in Daniel and Ezekiel aren't just predictions. They're invitations to change. They're calls to turn our hearts toward Him. And if God is warning nations, then what about us? What about you and me? In Daniel, we see the rise and fall of kingdoms. We see how God uses nations, even those who seem far from Him, to fulfill His greater plan. But those who rebel, those who turn from Him, they face the consequences. And that's not just about ancient kingdoms. It's about now. It's about you. What happens when we turn away from God's love? What happens when we forget that He is the one who holds everything in His hands? The warnings in Ezekiel and Daniel aren't just warnings for nations, they're warnings for all of us. They're lessons in humility, in grace, and in understanding that we are all part of something far bigger than ourselves. In this time of uncertainty, when the world seems divided, when conflicts rage on, these biblical lessons stand as a reminder. We are not exempt from the consequences of our actions. But just as the Bible offers warnings, it also offers redemption. There's always a chance to turn back, to realign, to find the strength to do better. And isn't that what we all need? Let this be a wake-up call. Don't let the warnings go unheard. The prophecies in Ezekiel and Daniel aren't just for ancient times. They are for now. They call us to action. They call us to examine our hearts, our choices, our lives. And here's the truth. God's grace is available to all, but it requires us to listen, to change, and to humble ourselves before Him. Can you feel the urgency of this message? The warnings are not to scare us, they're to guide us. They're to help us see that God is still speaking and we still have time to listen. It's not too late, but the time is now. As we look ahead, as we see the rise of nations and the unfolding of prophecies, let's remember, God is still in control. He is guiding, protecting, and restoring. And the most powerful thing we can do is to stay aligned with His will. So, what will we do with these warnings? Will we heed them? Will we change? The choice is ours. But remember, God's love is always there, waiting to restore, to heal, and to guide. Divine intervention, the supernatural power of God in the last days. When the world seems to spin out of control, when chaos reigns and nations turn against each other, God steps in. This is not just a story of history repeating itself. It's a supernatural intervention guided by the hands of God Himself. In Ezekiel 38-39, we witness the unimaginable. Nations, united in a powerful alliance against Israel, only to be crushed by God's hand in the most dramatic way possible. It's a powerful truth, one that promises us that no matter how dark the days get, God's sovereignty will always prevail. Imagine the earth shaking beneath your feet. Imagine storms so fierce they rattle everything in their path. Imagine fire raining from the heavens. This is not just metaphorical language. This is the reality that Ezekiel saw. In the battle of the last days, God will unleash His power in a way that no army can withstand. When the nations come against Israel, they will face the fury of the Almighty. And here's where it gets truly powerful. This isn't just about Israel. This is a message for all of us. God's power is not just for His chosen people. It's for everyone who calls on His name. We may not see fiery storms or earthquakes every day, but the divine protection and intervention are alive and well. We feel them in the smallest moments, in the times when we face impossible situations and yet find ourselves standing strong. When we think all is lost, when everything seems like it's crumbling around us, God is there, intervening on our behalf. Just as He protected Israel, He is there to protect you. Can you feel His presence in your life? Can you see His hand moving even when the world is dark? This is the power of God working in our lives. Iran's role in the final battle. The end of days is near. The world is shifting. If you've been paying attention to the news, the rising tensions, the political alliances, it's clear that we are living in unprecedented times, and Iran is at the center of it all. But why? What does it mean for the future? The Bible speaks of the last days, a time when nations will rise against Israel, and Persia, now Iran, will be a part of that final alliance. But here's the twist. It's not the end. It's the beginning of God's perfect plan unfolding before our eyes. Look at the alliances being formed right now. Iran, alongside Russia and other nations, is becoming a major power player. These aren't just political moves. They're the stage being set for the fulfillment of prophecy. In Ezekiel 38, we see Persia's involvement in the final showdown. But here's the key. Iran's growing role in the world today is not just political. It's prophetic. What does this mean for us? The nations that align against Israel in the last days will face God's judgment. And while the rise of Iran may seem threatening, remember, it's not about Iran's power, it's about God's power. God is the one in control, and His plan will unfold exactly as He has foretold. But there's more to this story. Iran's involvement doesn't end with destruction. It's part of a greater narrative, one of divine justice, restoration, and hope. Yes, nations will rise and fall, but in the end, God's ultimate victory will shine through. Iran's role in this final act is not just a tale of conflict, but a piece of a grander story that reveals God's ultimate plan for the world. And it's a plan that includes you, me, and everyone who calls on His name. A call for compassion and prayer. The lost will be found. Here's the truth. Iran, like all nations, is not beyond God's reach. The Bible makes it clear that even in judgment, God's love is ever present. In Jeremiah 49:39, God promises to restore the people of Elam, Iran. But this is not just about the nation of Iran. This is about each of us. We see a nation that has long been shrouded in conflict, but God's promise remains. Restoration is always possible. No matter how deep the darkness, God can bring light. No matter how lost, God can find us. Even Iran, a nation wrapped in turmoil, has a future of hope. God is calling us to pray, not just for Israel, but for every nation, for every soul. We are not called to judge, but to love and pray for the restoration of the lost. And it's not just about the nations, it's about us. Do we have compassion for the broken, for the hurting? Do we pray for those who seem far from God, knowing that no one is beyond his reach? It's easy to look at nations in conflict and forget that behind every headline, behind every political move, there are people. People who need prayer. People who need God's healing touch. God's heart is for the lost, the broken, the forgotten. And he calls us to be a part of that healing process. So as we witness the unfolding of these prophecies, let's remember, God's heart is for restoration. His desire is not to destroy, but to bring all nations, all peoples, back to him. And as we look at the rise of Iran, the alliances forming and the prophecies being fulfilled, let's keep in mind this powerful truth. God's plan is a plan of love, redemption, and restoration. Will you be a part of this? Will you pray for those who need it most, for those who are lost? Will you stand with God, knowing that his plan will always prevail, no matter how dark the world seems? God is working, and he is calling you to be a part of his plan. It's time to rise, to pray, and to trust in the power of his intervention. As you take a deep breath and reflect on everything we've shared, I want you to feel the weight of this truth. God is working right now, in the midst of everything, the chaos, the uncertainty, the battles we face in our lives and in this world. There is a plan unfolding. It's a plan far greater than we could ever imagine, one written before time began. Every nation, every heart, every moment is being guided by the divine hand of God. And yes, even in the hardest moments, even in the darkest days, there is hope. This isn't just about ancient prophecies or distant lands. This is about you. This is about your story, your place in this grand tapestry that God has woven for all of humanity. When we look at the world and see division, despair, and confusion, it's easy to think that we are lost in the storm. But let me tell you something powerful. You are not lost. You are seen. You are loved. And you are part of a story that is unfolding right now. God has not forgotten you. Think about it for a moment. The world may seem like it's falling apart, but the truth is, everything happening, every conflict, every hardship, is not outside of God's control. It's all part of his perfect plan, and you have a role in that plan. Just as the nations are rising and falling, just as prophecy is being fulfilled in front of our very eyes, your life has meaning. I want you to feel that truth settle deep into your soul. You are part of a divine purpose. Every struggle, every victory, every moment that feels uncertain is all leading you to something greater. And just like the nations that face their moment of reckoning, you too will rise. But here's the most important part of the message I want you to carry with you today. There is hope for restoration. God has shown us, time and time again, that no matter how far we wander, no matter how lost we may feel, he is always there, calling us back. Whether it's the rise of Iran in prophecy or the challenges you face in your own life, there is always a chance for redemption. God's heart is one of mercy, one of healing, and one that never gives up on us. I know some of you watching this may be feeling the weight of life pressing down on you. Maybe you feel like you're at the edge, like nothing is going right. But here's the truth. God is closer than you think. His arms are open, waiting for you to step into the grace and restoration he's offering. No matter how broken you may feel, no matter how impossible the road ahead seems, God is the God of second chances. He can take the broken pieces of your life and turn them into something beautiful. So let's make this a moment of action. As you stand on the edge of this moment, I want to ask you, what's the next step? If you feel this message stirring something inside you, if you feel that this video has given you a glimmer of hope, then take that feeling and hold on to it. Hold on to the truth that God is at work in your life. And if you feel the call, if you want to stand with us in spreading this message, then join us. Your support means more than words can express. Every comment, every like, every share helps spread this message to someone who needs to hear it. If this video has brought even the smallest spark of light into your life, then please show your support. You have the power to change someone's life by just being a part of this journey. I truly believe that we are all here for a reason, and as we walk through this life, we are never alone. God is always by our side, guiding us, healing us, and preparing us for what's next. And that next step might just be a new chapter, one of hope, restoration, and divine purpose. So if you feel that connection, that sense of purpose today, I ask you to take a moment to reflect. Think about how far you've come and where you're going. God is not done with you yet. He has a plan that stretches far beyond anything you can imagine, and you are right in the middle of it. Thank you for being here today, for being a part of this journey. Your support means the world to me, and together we can spread this message of hope, healing, and divine intervention to the world. Let's continue walking forward with God by our side, knowing that the best is yet to come. Thank you from the depths of my heart.